With Generation 4 aircraft confirmed by Gaijin, it would make sense for me to talk about something like the SU-27 or the F-15. But I would like to stew on that for a bit and talk about what might be added in between now and the introduction of such aircraft. The Su-24. I promised to cover this during Swing Wing September, but I neglected to do so due to different reasons. I think I'll do the Su-24 now, then after I'll release a corrections and update vid for my old how to implement videos, then we'll get to stuff like the F-15 Eagle and Su-27. Without any further delay, the Su-24 Fencer. The origins of the Su-24 date as far back as 1965, but the need goes as far back as 1962. The Su-7B was showing its inability by being limited to day attack only. Modifications needed to convert the Su-7 for all-weather strike capability found to be too small for the airframe of the Su-7. Hence, Sukhoi looked into a new airframe to accommodate these modifications. Originally conceived to be a Delta Wing aircraft, a mock-up called the S6 was constructed, but was cancelled due to the slow progress in the development of the navigation and attack avionics meant to fit the S6. Their next attempt was a modification of the Su-15 airframe, known as the S-58M. The requirements were ability to supercruise at low altitudes and capability for short takeoff and landing. To achieve this, the Su-15 airframe was fitted with two Tomansky R-27 turbojets, found on very early variants of the MiG-23 and immediately replaced by the R-29 for supercruise, and four RB-3635, a variant of the lift engines installed in the Yak-38 for short takeoff. That would be a total of 6 engines in one aircraft. The Su-24 was finally officially tested as a T-6 prototype. The T-61 prototype only had the two Tomansky R-27s during early testings, which were shortly replaced with the Lyulka AL-21 engines, which would end up being its mainstay power plant. The lift jets were eventually omitted. In the same year, the F-111 came into service, and Sukhoi saw many solutions to the issues it had with the variable geometry wing on the Se-17s. The T-62I was then constructed. The T-62I finally succeeded in all-weather navigation and attack capability thanks to the Tiger avionics. Oh, by the way, the T in T6 means Trigolnoe, which means delta, or triangle. The I in 2I means Ijmeyayamaya, or variable. Because the T-62I wasn't delta anymore, they added the I, or the Ijmeyayamaya, but kept the T6 name as to not rile up the political authorities and make them think that the T-62I was an entirely new design. At least 4 more prototypes of the T-62I were requested, with a third being lost to a crash. The Su-24 finally entered service in 1975 with the Soviet Air Force under the late production variant Su-24 Fencer C. At the same year, work began on an improved variant of the Fencer, which went into production in 1978 as the Su-24M Fencer D. The Su-24M carried a redesigned radome and stretched the forward fuselage. 3 centerline pylons were added, increasing the total to 9 pylons. The Tiger attack and navigation system was replaced with the PNS-24M system. The Zaira electro-optical guidance system was replaced with the Kyra 24M laser designation system. APP-50 chaff and flare dispensers were initially fitted on the wing fences, but moved to the rear fuselage when the fences were deleted. The Su-24M serves with the Russian Air Force to this day, with an upgrade to the Su-24M2 standard being rolled out to keep pace with the Su-34 fullbacks avionics. Along with a full-glass cockpit, HUD, and HMD capability, the Su-24M2 fits GLONASS and the ability to fire R-73 IR missiles. Reconnaissance variants under the Su-24MR Fencer E and Su-24MP Fencer F electronic warfare variant were also produced. The Su-24 is a twin-seat variable geometry all-weather supersonic strike fighter. Fitted with 2 Lyulka AL-21F turbo engines, each outputting 75 kN of thrust without afterburner and 109.8 with afterburner, the Su-24 is capable of only Mach 1.35 in subsequent production variants, owing to the omission of variable intake ramps that allowed it to reach Mach 2. However, as the Su-24 was primarily used in low-altitude missions, and the removal of ramps affected none of its low-altitude capability and easily lowered its weight. The PNS-24 Navatech Systems avionics included the Orion A pulse Doppler radar for navigation and targeting, the Chaika electro-optical targeting system to fire the KH-23 and KH-25 missiles. Laser-designated weapons were also deliverable for the Fencer C by fitting a Phantasmagoria laser designator pod on the wing. Though this configuration was rarely used and made immaterial by the Su-24M upgrade no little than 3 years later. The Su-24 had the SPO-15 Berioza RWR, SPS-161 jammer on the tail, and the Garan F jammer in the rudder and nose. The Fencer C did not carry chaff and flares. The Su-24M upgrade includes a PNS-24M Navatech system that includes new navigation avionics and the replacement of the electro-optical system with a Kaira-24M laser designation system. The laser designation system works the same way as the MiG-27's laser designator. The Su-24M upgrade also includes the APP-50 chaff and flare dispensers. The most significant upgrade in the Su-24M2 standard, aside from its armament, is the incorporation of GLONASS, which allows it to fire GLONASS bombs. The Su-24 series is similar to the MiG-27 by mounting a 6-barreled minigun under the centerline pylon in the SPPU-6 pod. In this case, the gun is a 23mm GSH-623 whose firing angle can be changed to fire as low as 45 degrees downward. The Su-24 carried 500 rounds of ammunition, and if necessary, the gun pod can be removed to fit other ordnance. For air defense missiles, the Su-24 and Su-24M have the basic R-60 and R-60M in dual-rack wing pylons for a total of 4. The Su-24M2 incorporates R-73 air-to-air missiles. However, as the Su-24 only carried a ground target radar, it could not fire radar missiles. For ground ordnance, the Su-24 can drop virtually every modern ordnance already used by similar Tier 7 strike fighter and fighter bombers in game. With 8 pylons for the base Su-24 and 9 for the Su-24M, the Su-24 could carry up to 8,000 kilograms of ordnance, including Fab 250 to Fab 1500 bombs, 6 pods of S5, S8, and S13 rockets, and 6 S21 rockets or 6 S25 rockets. Guided ordnance include the KH-23, KH-25, KH-29T missiles, the TV-guided variants of the unguided bombs such as the CAB-500. With the laser guidance pod, the base Su-24 can also carry the KH-29L and CAB-500L laser-guided munitions. The Su-24M adds 1 pylon in the center line, totaling 9 pylons, and removes the requirement to fit the Phantasmagoria laser guidance pod in one of its wing pylons. The Su-24M2 allows the use of GLONASS guided bombs as well, such as the CAB-500 SE and its 1,500 kilogram counterpart. The Su-24 is a logical successor to the Su-17M2, incorporating a lot of the same weapons and the variable geometry setup. Though the restriction to Mach 1.35 hampers its performance, the Su-17M2 and Su-22M3 is rarely used as a dedicated high-altitude interceptor in War Thunder anyway, with players opting to use its insane acceleration and, until recently, its air spawn to rush bases and earn points easily. I believe the Su-24 will continue in this fashion. Carrying the R-60 and R-60M, it will most likely be used in the same way as the Su-17 and MiG-27s. With the Su-24M's laser designator working similarly to the MiG-27K, there's no significant upgrade over it. As such, I would suggest the Su-24 and Su-24M, Su-24M2 being in one folder after the Su-17M2, with the Su-24 at 11.0 without R-60M, Su-24M with R-60M at 11.3, and the Su-24M2 at 12.0 with R-73 when HMD mechanics get added. The research cost for each should be 390,000 RP for the Su-24 and 400,000 RP for the Su-24M and M2. The SL cost should be 940,000 SL, 1,030,000 SL, and 1,060,000 for the Su-24, Su-24M, and Su-24M2 respectively. Crew train cost should be 300,000 SL, 310,000 SL, and 320,000 SL respectively. I believe the Su-24, as large and bulky as it is It would make for a competitive fighter, especially when more agile Gen 4 aircraft enter the scene. It's another aircraft that will find its niche in ground battles, offering an alternative to the MiG-27K or another addition to the lineup. The Su-24 is a good addition between now and the anniversary update that would introduce Gen 4 aircraft. Okay, I'm not confirming that it will be added during the anniversary update. This is just speculation based on previous behavior by Gaijin. Tier 6 tanks were introduced during their 5th anniversary, and the 10th anniversary, I bet they would introduce Gen 4 aircraft by then. I'd actually love to fly Su-24s from Grand Army and would love to see them added at some point. However, preferably not when F-16s and MiG-29s are already flying around. Only time will tell though when we'll get to see this beautiful aircraft. Once again, thank you for watching. This is the Dr. MD. Clear skies and Godspeed.